Cheers.
Hey guys, welcome back. So I don't know about you, but I am super excited that we are finally entering fall. I have been waiting for this because it's my absolute favorite season. And even though I have to admit, I've had a really good, enjoyable summer because where we have moved recently was a lot less hot and humid than what I'm used to, so I could actually spend time outside. I'm still ready for fall. There's just something about the season. It almost feels like a fresh start. I guess it's the back to school and just the overall coziness entering into that season of everything warm and comforting. So speaking of comforting, for today's video, I wanted to talk about two things basically that I love around this time of year, which is pumpkin spice and cozy mysteries. Now, I've had my channel for a while, so I've done videos in the past that talk about kind of like fall or autumnal cozy mysteries, and so I kind of wanted to switch it up. And so I actually got this idea kind of inspired while I was looking around booktube and bookstagram and everybody getting really excited that Starbucks finally has their pumpkin spice latte, or basically anything pumpkin spice. It's finally out. I thought it would be fun and you all would get a kick out of cozy mysteries that are all pumpkin spice theme related. So anyway, if that sounds like something that you're interested in, keep watching. And as usual, if you have read any of these, let me know in the comments. And if you have your own kind of pumpkin spice theme cozy mystery, or I guess just another genre of book recommendation, go ahead and drop it below for everybody else. So without further ado, let's jump into the books. Okay, so before we jump in, I did kind of want to set the scene a little bit. So I chose all of these cozy mysteries for one reason and one reason only, and it is because they have the word pumpkin spice in the title. Now, obviously it goes without saying, you could probably assume, and I've read the synopsis, so I'm gonna go ahead and co-sign on this, that these books take place during the fall season. So automatically, if you're not loving or into pumpkin spice, the flavor, you can still get on board with these because they are fall themed books. So if you're looking for autumnal cozy mysteries, still go ahead and check these out, pick them up, because you're gonna get those vibes within that. So I've got 9 books here. I gotta be honest, I was trying to shoot for 10, and I'm sure there are others out there that I probably missed, but I'm like, no, let's go ahead and keep it at 9. I don't want to kind of force or shoehorn another book just to have a whole number. So we're going to deal with 9. You can kind of attribute maybe the quirky number to like Halloween. I don't know. But anyway, let's start off with the first book, which is called Pumpkin Spice and Deadly Heist. So I have to say, usually when I do these, I will always say something along the lines of, oh, I love this book, or oh, I'm super excited because this one sounds really good. Admittedly, this cozy mystery is probably one that I may not have picked up otherwise, and that's simply because of the type of amateur sleuth that we're dealing with. So let me go ahead and give you kind of a synopsis and then explain what I think. And I'm not saying that to turn you off to it, it's just my personal preference. So basically, this is part of the Nosy Paralegal series, and that is basically my only qualifier for not loving the idea of this, but it's still fun, especially if this is something that you're into. So basically this series is exactly how it sounds. You've got a paralegal who butts into the business of her boss's client, often helping out or pitching in to help solve whatever mystery is surrounding the guilty verdict that they're currently facing. And so for this one, she actually wants to help a man who is accused of murdering someone during a bank heist gone wrong. Obviously he's claiming that he's innocent. She believes him, and so she steps in because she feels obligated to help. Now, the reason that this one is not my favorite idea is because it hits on one of my pet peeves, which is amateur sleuths who are too nosy and kind of cross the line. And it says it in the title of the series, the fact that they're nosy. So I can't really hate because they're being very transparent about it. But anyway, if that is your jam, definitely check it out. But I did want to mention this one on the list because it's got pumpkin spice in the title. Okay, so the next one that we have is Pumpkin Spice Murder. That's a pretty straightforward title, but I'm still excited about it because it deals with all things autumnal. And this this is part of the Frosted Love Cozy series. I'm not familiar with this series, but it does sound interesting because this one essentially takes place at a masquerade ball that turns into a crime scene when one of the guests winds up dead. Now, I love any kind of festival or large event that requires a bunch of characters to be together, and I think a masquerade ball is super fun, especially for this kind of time of year with Halloween and costumes and everything. And the fact that it's used at the crime scene adds that extra element of intrigue, and everybody essentially becomes a suspect, which is super fun. Next up, we have Death by Pumpkin Spice. So this one is part of the Bookstore Cafe mystery series. It's a pretty popular series. So this one is set again around the fall time, and essentially what you get is yet another costume party. So slightly different. It's not a masquerade party per se, but it's still a costume party where people are dressing up. And essentially our amateur sleuth teams up with the local police officer to solve one of the crimes. And I wanted to include this one on the list other than the obvious reason because it has very Poirot vibes, in the sense of you have kind of a cast of characters who could all be suspects, and then you've got one person who uses their intelligence to help out the official local authorities. I know there are some Poirot books out there where he isn't kind of like the main guy solving the crime. He's teaming up and lending a hand. This sounds exactly along the same vein, which I definitely could get down with. Next on the list, we have Pumpkin Spice Donuts and Murder, which, I mean, yum, pumpkin spice donuts. Yes, sign me up for those 100%. It's part of the Rainy Day Mystery Series. Our amateur sleuth's name is Rainy, and this one is a little bit spooky to me, only because the way in which our amateur sleuth stumbles across a dead body seems very realistic. And by that, let me just say really quick, essentially she's walking her dog and she hears gunshots, and so she feels obliged to go check it out because, you know, somebody could be hurt, and obviously that's when she stumbles across a dead body. So this one, if you live in a city or you have a dog that you take out for frequent walks, I feel like this has a ring of truth to it because, you know, anything can happen while you're out. You always want to stay vigilant. And I think for that reason alone, I'm like, ooh, this is really, you know, I know a lot of cozy mysteries have an element of fantasticalness to it, which is kind of part of the fun. But walking your dog and hearing gunshots are both very realistic things. And to have that be the setup for this mystery, it hits close, well, not close to my home, knock on wood, but it's definitely something that that rings true and could potentially happen. Okay, now we have Pumpkin Spice Scare, and this is part of the Cupcake Crime series. So first of all, cupcakes, yes. This series, yes. Cupcakes, I will say again, yes. But so for this one, our main character stumbles across her co-worker's body while at the diner where she works, which, oh my gosh, that sounds absolutely horrifying. And I haven't read this one, but I would be really interested to see how our main character deals with solving the murder of someone so close to them. I know in other cozies what typically tends to happen, not all the time, but it's always like a 6 degrees of separation. Like the person who's closest to them is usually not the one who's murdered, but the one who is accused of the murder, and they have to help solve that crime. So to have someone in your circle so much be the victim, yeah, that just seems really wild. So it would be interesting to see how they kind of go about that with reining in their emotions while also, you know, trying to basically solve the crime. Okay. Oh, and I do want to say really quickly, though I guess maybe we could say this for a lot of cozy mysteries, this one does take place in a small town, Sweetwater Falls. I did want to point that out because if you're looking for a cozy with a confirmed small town element, this one is definitely the one to check out. Okay, so on to the traditional pumpkin spice latte. The next book is called Pumpkin Spice Latte and Murder. This is part of the Oceanside Cozy Mystery series, and this one seems like fun because let me explain to you the premise of it. So we've got our amateur sleuth, and they're all geared up and hyped to go on this like haunted trolley ride tour, but that ends up not happening because their tour guide winds up murder. And so to kind of add another element of that, there's a lot of motive for their particular death because the tour guide was some kind of infamous around town like prankster, pulling off like mean pranks to people. So basically everyone in town had a motive to knock them off. And so I think that's interesting because, again, in cozy mysteries, many times the victims are usually people who may not have been well liked throughout town. That's why everyone or many people become suspects. And the reasoning behind that varies. Sometimes they're like the town grouch, sometimes they're like really mean to animals, or, you know, want to come in and bulldoze stuff. So the fact that this person is a prankster and like pulling cruel jokes is something that I've never seen before, and it would be really interesting to see, or rather hear, of different people's motives around town. Next up, let's talk about pumpkin spice. So we've got pumpkin spice and poisoning. This is a sweet baked mystery, and so this one this one is interesting because it deals with, again, someone close to our main character. So what ends up happening is they own a bakery, and they're trying to move they want to relocate to like expand or whatever. And so what ends up happening is that the patrons at a neighboring restaurant end up poisoned. One of those people is also our main character's sister, so that also is motive to get to the bottom of things. But she ends up, not the sister, but the main character ends up being accused of the murder because you know, it's like, well, hey, are you sabotaging because you want less competition for your business or what? And so not only is she compelled to solve the crime to clear her name, but obviously she wants to find out who harmed her sister and naturally the other patrons who were poisoned as well. Next, we've got a pumpkin spice killing. This one seems like a lot of fun, again, just because it's got elements of cozy mysteries that I like, which are groups being brought together. So this is part of the Farm to Fork mystery, and this is what ends up happening is that the group of people were supposed to be on like this team building retreat, and so instead of winding up at this place where, you know, you would go to team build and have all these like kumbaya moments and hikes and whatever, they wind up at a veterans farm and end up like doing, like, they get roped into doing chores and like helping out on the farm, but in that they get kind of roped into trying to find, or rather help the veteran find his missing son, and that opens a whole can of worms. And you know, obviously at some point there's got to be a murder. I haven't read this book, I'll be totally honest with you, but the fact that it's kind of like a team building retreat gone wrong or turned amateur sleuthing seems really interesting to me, because you're gonna have more than just your amateur sleuth kind of poking around. And I love the dialogue and the chemistry that happens when multiple characters are bouncing ideas back and forth in cozy mysteries, whether it's a group or whether it's our amateur sleuth's family or quirky aunt or best friend or whatever. All of that is totally my jam. Finally, number 9, because remember, I don't have 10. We're capping it at 9 today. We've got Pumpkin Spice Lies. This is part of the Pumpkin Hollow mystery series. So already the fact that you've got pumpkin in the title, if you really want to dive into like spoopy, pumpkin, fall, Halloweeny, whatever, just pick this entire series up, because again, this book is part of the series. So basically, excuse me, this takes place during the town's lead up to their annual fall festival, and our main character and her sister stumble across a dead body. I think it's either right before or the night leading up to, again, this festival, and so they team up with the sheriff to basically figure out who killed this person, what happened, and they've got the added deadline because it's like, hey, should we cancel the festival? Should we keep it going? Will there be more murders? That seems really interesting. And again, it's got what I love, which is having like festivals or group events or parties in cozies. I think it just makes such a fun backdrop that lends itself to just so many different possibilities. So I'm also excited for this one as well. Okay, so there you have it, 9 cozy mysteries, all featuring pumpkin spice in the title. Again, I thought this was a fun way to kind of share some autumnal cozy mysteries without just having it be a generic autumn theme, which, don't get me wrong, I love that. Again, I've got some videos that I've done in the past, some friends of mine, I love seeing all those lists, but I wanted to do a little bit of a different take on it because, hey, people love pumpkin spice around this time of year. In fact, I'm just kidding, this is not pumpkin spice. So how funny would that be? and I considered it. But if I have to be honest, and I will leave you all with this dirty little confession, I don't like Starbucks pumpkin spice lattes. I'm sorry. There, I said it. I love pumpkin spice. Give me a cupcake, give me a slice of bread, give me pie. Maybe give me a different company's latte that I will try, but Starbucks itself, no thank you. So anyway, hopefully you will still pick up these books despite my shameful secret. I still think it's fun. I'm super excited for autumn, and I hope you guys are too. Let me know if you have any fun autumnal plans coming up. I have a boatload, including just enjoying watching the leaves outside of my window turn orange and brown. So anyway, happy reading. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye!